Good morning, Yotam.
Good
Boker Tov.
morning, Chandra.
How are you?
I'm perfect. Winter
Beautiful.
morning.
Yeah, we are in winter, January. So welcome everybody back to Zen Odyssey, Food and Mood. I have a very special treat for everyone. We're going to do Yotam and or we're going to talk about the immune system and winter time, and particularly how Chinese medicine thinks about and treats wintertime ailments, colds, flus, the immune system. So we're going to get all into all these topics today.
Welcome! Here is your hostess and coach, Chandra Zas, helping people make food and mood changes doable without missing out. Go ahead, high five that like button, subscribe and share while you're there.
Okay. I first want to talk a little bit about how I know Yotam. We met when we were working on a mid-burn project. Mid-burn is the Israeli Burning Man, about, I think it was 6 or 7 years ago. And so we have become great friends ever since. And every time we get together, we're always talking about health and how we can live in harmony with nature and what we're always having these amazing conversations about like what the body does and what the mind does to the body. And so I wanted to start a conversation with Yotam and see what happens. So we're here to have fun and talk about health and the immune system. So Yotam, do you want to give a little bit of Yotam is a doctor, a traditional Chinese medicine doctor. So Yotam Tamari, I know him as Yotam. So would you like me to call you Dr. Yotam?
If it feels comfortable.
Technically, you're a doctor. It's amazing. Dr. Yotam, would you like to tell us a little bit about you and introduce yourself?
Yes, please. Thank you. So I finished my 4 years course 2 years ago, and I'm working in health insurance and working there as a Tuina physician. Tuina, that's the physical therapy of the Chinese medicine, and it works on the meridian, on the channels that runs all of our energy, which connects each channel to the organ, to a physical internal organ. So this art and theoretical method really touches me, and I'm really identified with that teaching, and I'm all thrilled and inspired by that. And it's like a long way it's a really long way to the future of the Chinese medicine, because it's written down that each physician that's learning Chinese medicine will never came across with the whole theory. It's a really big thing. So for me, it's like it's a journey. It's a journey of learning and really coming more close to give a really accurate diagnosis and treatments.
Beautiful.
So, and I'm looking forward to speak with you and to share some of my insights and to go deeper into that big topics of health.
Nice.
So
Yeah, and
you.
actually, I want to share a little bit. This is actually the first time that I've really brought Chinese medicine onto my listeners and into my thing. So I have found in my health and my healing journey, Chinese medicine has been a big part of how I've helped myself and how I think about health. And so I'd love for you to maybe explain a little bit about how Chinese medicine, like, I know this is like a really big question, but like, just so that, because it's kind of like we're introducing Chinese medicine to this. So what's like kind of a way that you can describe how Chinese medicine thinks about health or thinks about our body? Like, can you give a couple sentences?
Yes. So we need to understand the history of Chinese medicine. And the history comes from a time where people were really adventurous and explore nature and observe nature. they say it was the longest human exploration and exploration about nature. People observe for centuries, just observe nature, and from that they came to a conclusion that they are part of nature. It means that the laws of nature applies on them exactly how they apply on a plant or an animal or on the soil. So the understanding of Chinese medicine is that the body and the man, the person, is a microcosmos of the macrocosmos. So as much as we can close to the essence of nature and the laws of nature, so we can apply it on ourselves and really extract information about how nature applies on us and how we are connecting with that essence.
Hello, my friend. How are you? I'm in the Dead Sea, floating in the water. Go ahead and like and share and follow so we can keep in touch.
Yeah, I love that. From what I remember learning about this is that like how Chinese medicine was created was a lot of observation of nature and then applying how does those same laws apply internally inside of our body. Could you give an example of, like, let's say, since our topic today is going to be the immune system, like how would that relate to the immune system? How does Chinese medicine think about the immune system in the body in correlation to nature?
Yes.
Or even winter time, the time of year?
So the immune system in Chinese medicine is a shield wall. It's a really shield wall that you have a few internal organs which directly connected to that idea, which is the lung and the liver. The lungs are associated and in charge of the pores on the skin. And we know Western medicine that the pores open up and closes, and that action, it's only an action of the immune system. So if we understand that the skin and the pores are connected to the immune system, it means that the body can shut itself down and open up. So it uses that action to extract heat and unhealthy energy, or to maintain and recycle that heat. Let's say fever. And in the opposite, like in winter time, the body wants to keep the energy inside and recycle that heat. So it maintains closing the pores. So if we understand that the immune system is a shield wall, so it's really connected to the whole body, to the whole person. If the body and the person feels whole and have a really good confidence about himself, about his action, and he doesn't feel limited in life, so the immune system and the shield wall will be the same. I'm not
in the
limited.
winter time and in the summertime. Is that what you're saying? Like throughout the entire year, the shield will be the same.
Yes.
Okay.
And now after that, we can connect and go further and explain how the mental state connects to the immune system, as long as the food and the physical.
So yeah, please jump into that. So how does the way that we think, or the way that we're seeing the world, the way that our mind is working, the thoughts we're having, how does that affect our immune system? Okay.
So before the immune system, the thoughts and the mind in Chinese medicine connects to the heart. And the most simple understanding about the heart, which is that's the organ that sends life into each and every cell in our body. It gives a code of life into every cell. So if I have a mental state of shame and guilt about my life, about my actions, so that state of mind directly and immediately connects with the heart. So that's the code that the heart sending into each and every cell, that it has shame into.
So so if the mind is thinking thoughts and having a perception that's feeling guilty and shame, so then that would affect the heart and kind of diminish it and make it kind of like inward and like not give the heart power. Is that kind of like?
It's really limited the potential of life that the heart can give.
So it's kind of like dampens the energy. Like if the heart's the organ that kind of gives energy to all of the other systems, and if shame and guilt kind of diminish the power of the heart, so it just makes the entire body, including the immune system, weaker.
Okay, so the emotions are in charge of the heart, but still, the emotion doesn't. We control our emotion, because I can really think now and act like I'm angry. That's a choice. So if I'm understanding that I'm in charge of that emotional state, it means that it doesn't control me. And if I'm giving the emotion the charge and to be in charge, it means that I'm bounding myself into that force, that force of emotional. It doesn't mean it doesn't good, but in the long term, it's really weakened and limited the potential of us feeling whole, because the emotional state in a healthy state, it's liberated, it's happiness and love. And if it means that I have shame, and what's that? That's expansion. That's the whole, that's the feeling of whole. It's the
life force, it's the energy,
yes,
the vitality.
And gives us expansion.
Mm-hmm.
And all the negative, let's say, negative outcomes of the other emotions like shame, guilt, anger, sadness, all of that emotions gives an energy movement, which is contraction. How long can we be in contraction? Is this our really true nature, to be only in contraction? So the Chinese medicine said that the heart is like an emperor, and the emperor needs to be happy and loving for all of his people. And if the emperor is sad and angry, he cannot treat his people. He cannot give his love and caring for all. So this is really interesting and profound understanding about our emotion and how it affects our heart, which is the most important organ in our body. So, and what's sad about it, that our culture doesn't encourage us to make peace with our emotion, doesn't give us tools to understand that we control that.
Yeah, you're speaking exactly my language. This is like really the heart of how I work with my clients, is like really understanding how much our mind and the way that we think, we really do have a lot more control than most of us understand about how we feel. And then it's not just about like repressing our bad feelings. It's about really being aware that we have, for what I teach is that there's one thing about like looking at how you're seeing things and choosing your thoughts, but then it's also about allowing the hard feelings to be felt, the sadness, the anger. Like it's important to allow those to be part of our life. And that really is the baseline of creating like an internal reality that's healthy, like whether it's both in the mind and in the emotional. And I'm actually really curious what you have to say. I know that you're talking about shame and guilt, but I'm curious what you have to say about stress. Stress is a big piece that I teach and work with my clients. I think like that, I mean, you go to a doctor or Western doctor and they'll say, well, stress, you need to stress less, but no one really understands what that means. And I think Chinese medicine has a lot of perception of the connection between our physical body and our physical ailments in connection to our emotions. And I would put stress in there right with there. So I'm curious if you have anything to say about stress and the immune system.
Of course. So stress is directly connected to the immune system. And stress is the #1 cause of weakening the immune system. And I can explain more of the Western medicine view about it. So the immune system divided into a few systems, and three systems, and one of them is the autonomic system. The autonomic system speaks about autonomic. I'm not thinking about it. It's a part of me. That's a really long way back in history, a system that evolved to help us survive. It's a more survival mode in our DNA, that's coded in our DNA. So the autonomic system divided also to two, parasympathetic and sympathetic. And it's really the duality. The parasympathetic, that's the calm. The body, if the body is in a state of parasympathetic, so the digestive is working, the blood is flowing inward, the heart slows down, the breathing also slows down and really open up and get deeper. There's less activities on our brain. The neuron, it has less stimulation, less impulses that come inside of our brain.
Less stress.
Yes, so it means that the parasympathetic means that the body doesn't
Can I?
Yes, in parasympathetic, the body doesn't put effort into processing information in the most simple way. And in sympathetic, this is stress. It means flight or flight mode. Sympathetic. It means that the blood will rush into the limbs, the heart rate will get up, the liver will stop digesting, the stomach will stop digesting, the kidneys will run stronger 10 times more. So it means, and the body is getting ready to put a lot of information, a lot of impulse into the brain and to process it really fast, really strong, and get into action really, really fast. And that's both systems balancing each other all the time. So stress means that the sympathetic system works, that the body is now ready to deal with things.
And how does that affect the immune system? How does that state of stress, the state of sympathetic, affect the immune system?
So on the long term, when the body and the person is getting stuck into a state of stress,
chronic
because of
stress,
the culture, because of his environment, because of emotional struggling. So it means that the body is constantly in the sympathetic way. So it means, so on the long term, that his digestive won't work. It won't digest naturally. The body thinks, okay, I'm in stress. Let's digest really fast, extract what we need, mainly sugar, and continue. So on the long term, what happens that the kidneys are extracting both two hormones, cortisol and adrenaline. So on the long term, when the body is getting stuck, the gland doesn't make it just always extract these hormones to the blood. So on the long term, the body is getting weakened from the state of always dealing with information. It couldn't deal with so much information. So the immune system always keeps us in balance. And we said about the shield wall. So if the body is in constant war, on the long term, it will abuse all of his resources. And then in reaction to that, the immune system will get weakened. Because if cortisol and adrenaline is in the blood in a really big amount, so the immune system immediately goes down. It's like balancing also between them. So as we speak about emotion state and about our mental state, so if the sympathetic system is getting stuck, it will affect our mental state. It goes both ways. I can affect the sympathetic system with my emotion, and also with the sympathetic system, it goes and affects our emotion, and that feeling that I'm on a duty. I always have to bring profit into my action. And the parasympathetic said, no profit, only being, only now. There's nothing besides me. So if we're understanding that there's two systems autonomically that working always in our body, so we can help the system balancing itself. Let's take an example for coffee, okay? Coffee, caffeine activates the adrenal gland, which is in the kidneys. And when the adrenal gland is working, when we are drinking coffee, the kidneys work 12 times more than in natural state. So if the kidneys are working really strongly, the adrenal gland will extract adrenaline and cortisol. So for that time, so for these few hours after drinking coffee, the body will be, if we want or not, in a sympathetic way. The sympathetic system will work more aggressively. So people, let's take an example, a coffee shop. People are coming as a social event to come and relax and drink coffee with their friends. So they're sitting, a bunch of people inside of a place. They all want to relax. They're all drinking coffee. So for the external, they're happy, they're speaking, everything is okay. But on the inside,
their body's getting jacked up.
Everything is really working intensively.
Wow. So, I mean, this is a little bit of a side tangent, but like, I mean, I love talking about coffee. And a lot of people ask me, like, what is my health perspective on coffee? And I personally love coffee. I have a small love affair with coffee. So from a Chinese medicine perspective, or from your perspective, coffee creates a state of stress in the body, a state of sympathetic, and
only because it reacts to the adrenal gland.
Right. And to some degree weakens the body's systems, all the systems, including the immune system.
So if we're drinking one coffee a day, not in evening time, so the body really can, it can digest it. It can work through it. If it's only one coffee during the day and not on an empty stomach, it's not that of a big deal. But people really rely on coffee that gives them fuel. So the Chinese medicine looks at that as heat. Our body always recycling heat. We're really relying on our body temperature to maintain a balanced homeostasis. So let's take our example of our stomach as a fire, as a campfire, okay? So if I'm asking myself which fuel I'm giving my campfire, I'm giving logs, really big logs that can fuel the campfire for a few hours, or I'm taking like a really flammable straws and throw them into the fire. They're giving me a big show, and then they're weakening the campfire. So that's what coffee is doing.
Coffee is the straw.
Yeah.
And
It
a
gives
log
us
would
a-
be like food, like nourishing
Exactly.
food.
Exactly.
Do you want to talk a little? I would love to hear your opinion on how food affects the immune system.
Yes. So you can explain me more about that, about how each diet really needs to be fit into every person. And why is that? Because food has essence as well, as vegetables, fruits, meat, carbs. Each and every type food has an essence.
Can you describe what an essence is? Would you say that essence is like an energy,
Yes.
like heat or cold, or what is
Exactly. Exactly.
okay. Or dry
So the
or
most,
wet?
so the most easy way to think about is essence of food, about his temperature. Like if I'm eating a cucumber, what will happen in my body? The cucumber is full with fluids, and so
It's also cooling, right? Cucumbers are cooling.
exactly, it's really cooling. So for person that has a lot of stress and a lot of heat, and let's say he sweats a lot, so I will think about the cucumber that gives him an essence of cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, and let's say about a person that has anemia. So I want to give him a food with essence that's nourish, like meat, like fat, that gives the blood really
Like
yes.
builds the blood, that helps bring energy and build. From what I know about anemia is it's like you want to build the blood. You want to foods and diets. It's like building the blood.
Yeah.
Which someone with anemia is generally like on the colder side and on the more inward and kind of weaker side. So you want the like strength building, which meat I think is one of the easiest strength building or blood building foods.
Mm-hmm. So if I'm understanding and I'm diagnosis the cause that the person suffering from his immune system, if the cause is overheat, if the cause is over emotional state, if I'm understanding that he's not eating enough and he doesn't have time to eat, so I really need to give the specific and accurate food that gives him the essence that now he needs and invite to his life. Like what his subconscious tell me in the interview when I'm speaking with him. What's coming from his words? What's the need that's coming from his words? So if I'm simple that, like if a person come and tells me I can't fall asleep at night, and then I'm asking him and he said, yeah, I'm working 12 hours a day, really intense. So I want to give him something calm, something that will ground him. So that's foods that will take a long time to digest, that he can sit at the house, the stomach will be full, and you will feel
the heavier
Okay.
foods.
Yeah.
So if we hone in, so I think you're talking about the immune system, like in general, like at any time of year. What about like the immune system, like in the winter time? Like, would you say like in a general sense for everybody in the winter time where the temperatures drop, the weather changes, the daylight hours change, how does the winter play into our immune systems and how can we best support it?
So if we spoke before about laws of nature which applies on us. So we see that in winter time, what happens that there's less light outside, there's less energy outside. All the plants are stopping, they're not growing, they're saving their energy. So winter time speaks about saving energy. And besides saving energy, also saving cold into summertime.
Saving
So
what?
saving cold
The
into,
temperature.
yes, into
Like
summertime.
storing cold in our body.
Yes.
Ooh, I've
Yes.
never heard that before.
So it means that we are really, the cold is essential. A lot of people afraid of cold. They doesn't want to go outside. They say it will, I hate cold. I'm not getting along with cold, but that's all in their mind. Because when we are exposed to cold, it runs the body into into the sense that now I need to save my energy.
Doesn't the cold also activate our defense system? Like,
Yes, if we spoke before about the pores, so the cold closes the pores. And then the body is getting into a state that now I need to save my energy. I need to recycle my warmth. So if the person is really aligned with the energies of winter, it will happen without putting an effort. Like if a person is, so in Chinese medicine, in the most way back studies and writing, it says that in winter time a person needs to go to sleep really early and get up really late. In
like
each
a bear.
season. Why is that? Because that's the time when there's least light and least warmth, and that's okay to save our energy and to sleep more. And in summertime, he says the opposite. He said, go to sleep late and get up early, because the body doesn't need it. So if we're looking in our culture, that nothing has really changed during the season, and let's say like a person that's working in high tech in the office for 12 hours, and he's
year round,
and
in the
around,
winter,
also in winter time, and he's sitting in the air condition. So he will go outside after the air condition that he was cozy and nice.
In English, we call it the cooling heating system. In air conditioning in English, it's it's like what we use in the summertime.
Okay.
So in the winter, we use the heater, but you're talking about like the temperature control. When we live in an environment or an office building or our homes that are temperature controlled, we're not exposed to the different temperatures, what you're saying, right?
Exactly. So offices creates microclimate inside of the office. And each and every office is like a big story building. For the whole year around, the body will feel dry, really heat and dry, like drought. It's like really summertime, really, really dry and hot. That's what the body feels. So after that, 12 hours, you go outside and he's experiencing, and during that 12 hours time, his pores are completely open because it's hot. And then he go outside and it's really cold. And then the body closes down really strong the pores. And that's gives the immune system the state of stress because it happened really radically. And if I'm not warming my house, with the heating and I'm coming inside of the house, or I'm not warming my bed and I'm coming inside of my bed, which is cold, and I have more times during the day when I'm exposed to cold, so the pores will close and open more naturally and not in a radical action.
And not in a stressed reaction.
Exactly.
So I think what you're saying is that one of the ways to support our immune system is to be more in tune with the times of year and the temperature changes.
Like in summer, it's really good to sweat in summer. It's really good to sit outside and you're feeling hot and you're feeling sweat. That's really healthy. And not sitting inside when the air condition is working.
Okay. So So it sounds like what part of what you're saying is that one way that we can help our immune systems and help our bodies in the winter time is actually to expose ourselves more often to cold, to be more with nature.
With wisely, like to put really good clothes and to go outside every day, 15-minute walk. Just that the face and the hands will be exposed to the cold.
Like tell your body it's winter time. It's time to, like, this is the time of year that this is what we're doing. The other thing,
that's okay. And also to tell myself that's okay. It's cold. It's cold and that's okay. It won't be that way always.
And then sleeping, to sleep more in the wintertime, give ourselves the permission to really rest, that it is the time of year to really spend that extra time sleeping and resting and going inward. What other things are great for the immune system in the wintertime?
Warming our body internally, like from the inside.
Internally.
Less from the external. So let's say I'm drinking more tea, using more cinnamon stick,
heating
which
spices,
warms the body, or ginger, chewing up ginger and swallow it, or eating foods that I cooked for a long time, like stews, and meat is also really good in winter time. It's okay to eat meat in winter time because to digest meat, the body extracts and produces a lot of heat from it. And also to really to be careful about exposing our internal and our center into cold. Let's say not sitting on a cold floor for a long time, because that's really weakened. It brings cold into the internal, and we want only the external to be exposed to cold.
And the external being like the limbs and the face and the core, the torso of the body, to always stay warm.
Okay.
Yeah, I love vests for that reason. For me, with my little one, I'm like, okay, if parts of her body are cold, but I know that the kidneys on the back are really important to keep warm, especially in the winter. And like, I really think of vests as like a great thing to, like, it keeps the center warm, but it doesn't like overheat the entire body.
Yes. So if we're feeling cold, we can always put our hands below our belly button. Below our belly button, two fingers apart from our belly button, downwards. It's where the center of the small intestine organ. The small intestine organ, it's the most hot organ in our body. It's close to 40 degrees. And the body temperature is 37, 36.5 degrees. So it means that the whole torso relies on the heat of the small intestine. So really cool exercise to do is just to put the hands on the skin below the belly button for 5 minutes and to observe how the hands becoming hot, really hot.
I was going to ask, what if your hands are cold, but you're saying that actually that part on our body is actually going to heat our hands up.
Yes,
cool.
always. And that's a really quick method to bring our body into center and to send inward into the to the autonomic system, parasympathetic, calm, ground ourselves. Because we are putting our hands, which most of our information come from our hands and feet and face and our senses. So we are bringing the senses inwards. We are pointing our senses inward. So that really calms the body.
And I'm curious if you agree with this way, I would interpret it as like kind of like connecting with ourself. It's like, instead of our energy going out and connecting with everything else, it's kind of like a physical exercise of like internally connecting with our core, ourself.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Do you have anything else you want to say about winter time?
Yes. So I said before that the body saves cold to summertime, and it works also backwards. So if a person doesn't, it really, if a person really avoids being in cold during winter time, it means that in summertime, he will suffer more from the heat. Because as much as we expose to cold in winter, it gives our body a resistance and resilience to stand into a really big heat. And also it goes backwardly. So to break down, so it's really important to break down the reference into seasons and more look at it as a way that seasons balancing our body. And we just need to be tuned into the seasons. And we doesn't have to have a reference because each season has its beauty. Each season has his unique values that we need to harvest, that we need to understand how this season affects me, how this season doing good into my body.
To be in alignment, to work with the seasons and to incorporate and bring in the different energies and essences of the seasons into our internal environment and our being.
So my advice for that will be to break down that, to break down the reference. It's really important.
What do you mean the reference? What does reference mean?
I really love the summer. In summertime, I can go to the beach and see friends. I hate winter. Winter is bad. I can't see friends. I'm always cold. Reference. I love summer. I hate winter.
So more to like have the mindset and realize the importance of the season and to appreciate the season for the energies and for the balance of the whole year of all the seasons, to find a love for every season, to find a reason and an appreciation for the different energies of the different seasons.
And if we're speaking about the values of winter, winter speaks about contraction, about saving energy, not being in an expanded way. So winter time, that's the best time to make big decisions, to plant seeds that now we want to see evolving and giving fruits in summertime. So that's the best time to do, to think about our life, to think about what we want in life and how and what we want to change.
I haven't thought about this concept, but I learned about it many, many years ago. But the importance of kind of exactly what you're talking about of being inward, spending more time at home, spending more time sleeping, and in a certain way, spending more time dreaming and visioning and really figuring out what is it that's important to me, and then carrying it out the rest of the year through the seasons that have different energies. Like the summer has more outward energy, more daylight hours to produce and create, but it starts with the winter time of really visioning and dreaming and getting clear on what is it that I want to create this year. It also is kind of funny how it lines up with like New Year's resolutions, you know, in January, it's like everybody kind of like tends towards like, think about, well, what do I want to change this year? What do I want to make happen this year? And then that is the time of year to get clear on that and to go inward.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Okay.
So I want to ask you we didn't really even talk about, so maybe you can talk a little bit, touch on it, like what happens. I have a few questions, but what happens when you get sick? What do you do, like Chinese medicine wire, in your personal practice? What do you do when you get sick in the wintertime for helping and supporting your body?
So what am I doing? When I'm getting an illness, so I need really to listen to my body, what it needs now. And really what it needs is less food, rest, and water. We need to be more simple during illness time. And also it's really important to give as much less information to process for the body, less screens, less
Conversation,
work, conversations. Also saving an energy and extracting the illness outside. So what am I doing, especially winter time, is ginger. Ginger, it's one of the best thing and simple things to give our body what it needs during sickness. And I'm speaking about chewing the ginger.
Just going to ask you, how do you intake ginger? You just make a slice and you just chew a slice of ginger?
Really small slice, chew it up really, 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 really good. After I'm feeling that my nose is getting open and my ears are getting open, all the pores and the senses are getting stimulated. And then I'm swallowing what I chew.
What about ginger tea? What's your, or cooking with ginger? Are they?
Yeah, perfect. And then afterwards, chew it up.
But the medicinal quality is a thin slice, chew it and allow it to affect the head and then also go into the digestion.
Yeah. And also one I'm thinking about really important thing to do is showers. To do few showers a day, which mostly the shower will be in hot water and the end will be in cold water. It's like I'm opening the pores. It helps the body to extract. And then I'm giving some cold water to close the pores, not to leave them open, because that will leave the body in a state which it's stuck on the to extract, and it doesn't need always to extract.
That's really interesting to me. So I'm a really big hot spring person and water person. I love hot baths and hot springs and, and I've heard that, and I've even played with it with my own body, that like, it's way better to end on cold. And so I think you're explaining why it's good to end on cold is because it actually closes our pores and kind of puts us back into balance. Is that, and it kind of, and I've also heard that cold also stimulates the immune system. A balance of hot, cold kind of like gives that energy and stimulates the immune system.
Yeah. So this is a really beautiful duality, because when we're taking a hot shower, we're relaxed, we're like jelly, it's all calm. But what's really happens inside, that the body, the heart is racing really fast. And why is that? Because the water is hot, and the heart always needs to stay in a balanced temperature. And when the temperature is rising, so the body needs to put more effort to cool the heart. A lot of time when we're getting inside of the shower, we are showering and then we need to pee. And that pee is to balancing the temperature in our body. So, and when we're getting a cold shower, immediately we're, wow, it's cold, wow, what I'm doing. But what happens truly is that it calms all the system down. And that sharpness, that's truly brightness. That's brightening, that's re-cleansing our mind. That's a really strong cleansing. So, and then the pores are getting closed. And we said that the immune system really relies on the pores. So we're sending a message to the immune system by controlling our pores. So because of that, doing cold showers really helps the immune system by balancing the pore opening and closing.
So would you say that even when someone is sick, when they're fighting a cold or a flu or something, to take the hot shower and still end on cold, even when they're sick?
Always. And if they're not sick and they're able and they have the mentality to explore, to take cold showers.
Just cold showers.
Just cold showers and breathe into it. Always breathe. As long as we're breathing, we can maintain that coldness. And it's really important to give that to the body.
Yeah. And I think also having looping all the way back to the beginning, like having that mindset and realizing that this cold is actually really good for my body and really healthy for my body. And even having that mindset, because like part of our brain says there's something going wrong and this is uncomfortable, get out of here, but actually kind of overriding that thought process and saying, no, actually, this is really good for my immune system. This is really good for my entire being and so breathing is kind of a way of accepting and like calming down our sympathetic nervous system and invigorating the parasympathetic nervous system. Like breath is one of the best ways to calm our body down. So I love that. Be in the cold shower, have that like closing contraction experience, and then breathing and telling your body it's okay. And also mentally telling your body it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yes.
So when you're sick, ginger and
water,
hot and cold showers, water,
and less food, and really less food and really simple food.
The easiest to digest, like the soups.
Yeah, to choose something that I love to eat, and to eat that, like I love eggs, so I'm making scrambled eggs, eating scrambled eggs, just that. And then after a few hours, okay, I want something. And also to avoid cold foods during sickness. Less salads, less fruits, more heated food, and really foods that I know that for me, it's really easy to digest.
And also, from what I understand from Chinese medicine, is that the dairy is also it's mucus forming, and it's not great in the winter time, or not great when we're sick, not great when our immune system is struggling. Do you want to say anything on that?
Yes. So if we said that the organs that really balancing and connected to the immune system is the lung and liver. So what's the lung is doing? It's really trying to get the illness and the poison out. And how is that? By fluids, getting the fluids outside.
The mucus.
So, by mucus, exactly. So when we're drinking when we are consuming dairy, so in dairy you have the growth hormone for the baby cow, and that's his whole idea of that hormone is to strong the tendons. So it has a lot of mucus that can stuck into that tissue, that connective tissue, and stronger, and get the connective tissue stronger. So for the body, when we're consuming dairy, that growth hormone getting stuck into the ribs, between the ribs, and that mucus closes the ribs. And if the ribs are closing, there is less space for the lungs to expand. So there are spaces in the lung which are not expanding at all. And that creates more mucus that producing, not in a productive way. So the one that consuming dairy constantly have more mucus inside of their lungs.
Yeah, we eat some dairy, not a whole lot, but for sure whenever, especially my little one, she's getting sick all the time right now. But we always cut out dairy as soon as she gets sick. Like she has some goat yogurt some days, not always, but like if she's sick, then we cut the dairy out immediately, just because give her body the best chance.
You said the word yogurt, and that's something amazing. Yogurt was producing in really cold places, like in Russia and Scandinavia. They use the dairy to heat themselves. And how is that? They warm the yogurt. They consume the yogurt hot. And then the body doesn't save the mucus. And it really helps the body to digest the yogurt, which has a lot of fat inside. And the fat is really important to the body. and it really helps to maintain heat. And during time and culture, we're consuming yogurt is cold.
So would you recommend heating yogurt and eating hot yogurt?
I really don't coming from that cultures, so I don't know how to consume them hot. But I was listening to a lecture from a Russian guy that he spoke about consuming dairy and how we consume it, and what's the proper way to consume it.
Nice. Cool. That's interesting. I'd love you to send me that podcast. I'd love to hear that. Maybe I'll include it in the show notes for this show too. Super interesting. Yeah. I love learning about how we used to consume foods. It's really, there's a lot to learn from how our ancestors used to Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, the old cultures, how they used to consume foods. I know that we're getting close to the end of our time here. Are there anything that you would suggest to do specifically for kids in the wintertime and immune system?
Yes. Kids have a lot of energy, and some kids has the ADHD. I'm saying that because it's a complete false. And they have a tend to exercise and to be outside. And so for children which sweat more and they have the tendency to sweat, so to keep them safe, less sweating in winter time. It's really important because that brings more illness. Because when I'm sweating, the pores are open and then there's more cold can come inside.
To prevent them from getting sick.
Yes. And also, what I can recommend for kids. Kids are more smarter to ask them what their needs are now, what they need, what they feel that they need now. I think it's really for every season, but and also kids doesn't have the tendency to maintain their temperature, their body temperature. So just to see that they have enough clothing and
keep them warm.
Okay.
And same thing with big people as the diet, cut out the dairy, ginger if they'll take it or if they say yes.
Ginger is perfect for winter time always, whether you're sick or not.
And for kids and adults.
It really helps. It also helps the digestive. Really strengthening the stomach.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Amazing. Thank you, Yotam. I have one last question for you.
Yes.
So what is your favorite self-care practice that you are doing right now and why? What are you doing in your daily life? Could be winter related or it could be something you do year round. Actually be interesting to hear if you have a winter specific self-practice, but what is something that you do and why do you do it? Why do you love it? What are the benefits of it?
So for me, that's more of being playfulness. To remind myself to be playful, because when I'm asking my heart, what do you really want? The heart just wants to be happy. It wants to play. So I'm just keeping and reminding myself to be in that state of playfulness, because in playfulness, it's an emotion. It's a real state of emotion. In that time of playfulness, we are only in the here and now, and we are creating our reality. We're playing with imagination, and there's no limited. There's no laws in playfulness. So I can be really open and to play with myself, as to do handstand, to dance, and to do some crazy faces, and to laugh. So that's healing for me, because it really brings me back to childhood. In childhood, I just wanted to play. That's all I wanted.
I love that you say this. I think playfulness is such an important energy and thing to create. And it's one of the things I've really enjoyed about having my little one is I've really taken it as an opportunity to let her constantly remind me to play and like how important fun is. And it's actually one of the questions I really love asking my clients too. Like when we get into, making lifestyle changes and food changes, and it can feel really heavy and serious. And I love asking the question, how can we make this fun? Like, I think bringing that funness into our daily life is like, it makes life a lot more fun. How can we
Because
play
that's
with
the essence. That's the essence of life, to be happy and to enjoy life. That's all it is about. So most of the time people forget that, and they're all inside of that bubble of working and consuming and buying and all of that things which are important, but on the long term, they keep us away from our essence.
and they diminish our health. Yeah, we can even loop it back from the very, very beginning, talking about stress. Like when you're playful or when you're having fun, it's really hard to be stressed.
There's
It's
no
like...
stress. There is no stress. There is complete flow. There is natural flow of energy, and that's beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you brought that in. That's beautiful. Amazing, Yotam. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I wanted to briefly say that Yotam is an incredible practitioner. He does amazing acupuncture sessions and tuina. If you're in Israel listening to this, I highly recommend getting an in-person treatment with him. He's incredible. Do you have a email or a website? And I can also put it in the show notes. Do you want to say what that is?
So it's really still on the construction of building my internet site. But this year I will put out a lot of videos and information about exercising, healthy exercising, more from the world of Qigong and Tai Chi. And there's a lot to come.
Amazing. Yeah, speaking of things to come, we are also thinking of and figuring out how to collaborate and work together in creating a health team and helping people. So in the near future, there will also be an ability to work with Yotam through, if you go to my website, zenodyssey.com, you can find my website and also an app that we're now in the process of creating. And we're going to find a way to bring Yotam into there and to bring some videos and also video consultations where you can talk to Yotam and figure out what kind of imbalances you have and what kind of lifestyle changes and physical changes, habit changes that can support your body system coming into, as you say, like away from weakness and into like a strength, full energy place. So that's also to come. So stay tuned. And yeah, thank you so much, Yotam. This was amazing and fun.
I really enjoyed. Thank you very much.
I love talking to you about health stuff. And so it's so fun to actually like do this in this setting and record it and make something of it. And so, yeah, I hope, and I think this will be the first of many to come. So
yes, yay. Please.
Yay. Thank you so much for your time, energy, and your information and your heart. And yeah, thank you, Yotam.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
My pleasure. All right. Well, see you guys next time. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful day and ciao.